We use the porn music that you guys do.
Lovely.
They use it too?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me we were ripping them off.
No, we're not. Because I gave them that music. So
Did you really?
Yeah, because when you guys lost it.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys were trying to find it.
Yes.
And I knew what the name of it was. The name of it is called Laying Pipe.
Okay. I thought when you said you gave it to us, you did it like you were talking about like 2000 era Unsportsmanlike Conduct or something. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Our former boss deleted it out of the system.
He just called you old as fuck.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, Jed's pretty old.
I've been listening to that show before it was 1620.
30, he's gonna go! Holy cow!
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better! He gets better and Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out!
Let's jump into pipe or no pipe.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska's starting quarterback for 2024 is not currently on the roster. Jed?
That is a no pipe, because it's an absolute fact that he is not on the roster right now. That's like the easiest pipe that you could possibly not lay.
It's going to happen. It has to happen. If it doesn't happen, there's going to be rioting in the streets.
You mean getting a new quarterback?
Yes.
Okay.
No pipe.
No pipe.
No pipe. All right.
We will march on Memorial Stadium if the quarterback is on the roster
There'll
right
be
now.
picketing out.
Yes,
outside.
there will be.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska has 0 turnovers this weekend. Josh?
No pipe. Come on.
Wait, no. That'd be
No,
the
pipe.
most pipe.
Pipe.
Yeah.
Smoking all the pipe.
My bad. Yeah, everyone's looking at me like I'm an idiot. Like, wait, what? I thought that was normal.
Bold take.
Yeah, pipe. Yeah,
No pipe. There will be no turnovers this weekend. Jed?
That is a John Holmes style pipe. That is a large pipe.
That's a pipe you're not going to be able to get enough smoke into to smoke it. There's going to be so much pipe there.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska runs the Wildcat this weekend. Jed?
No pipe. No.
It's a pipe dream?
Yes, that's a pipe dream.
That was a Stacy question.
Yeah.
Told her no more volleyball questions.
Yeah, no.
Has to be football.
No, we haven't ran it all year. Why would we just? Oh, let's just do this. No.
Also, who's back there to catch it?
See, that's a pipe dream because of that pipe. Who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Do we even have a running back on the roster that played quarterback in high school? That can handle a snap.
That's healthy. No.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone's injured right
Yeah.
Okay, pipe.
Pipe or no pipe?
Arch Manning or any other super high-profile recruit transfers to Nebraska this offseason. Matt?
I mean, I don't think it's a terribly big pipe, but I'm going to say medium pipe. I think most of these kids. I think most of these kids know where they're going.
It's a one-hitter.
I think it's a massive pipe dream because I just don't think that everybody's going to go after these guys.
The only reason I
And
say what I said is that Matt Rhule will talk anybody into running through a wall. So
yeah.
he could just get a hold of somebody, and all of a sudden they're on the team.
Come to Nebraska. If you die, you die.
Yeah, pipe. It's going to be some group of 5 guys, what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Or like a player at a Power 5 school who hasn't really done it. Get excited.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska has a non-QB 550-plus rusher this season. Josh?
What's the number? What are the
Well,
numbers?
Emmett Johnson is the only guy that
Yeah,
obviously that we
where's
would
he
be
at?
talking about. He is 216 yards away.
Pipe. They're not going to give him enough carries. I like him. As much as I like him, he would need to have like 2 just crazy games. He'd have to have, almost 300 yards?
Even with that one of
No,
our
he-
2 games
he'd have to have
against Iowa.
so he'd have to have just over 100 yards in each of these last 2 games.
A small pipe.
Yeah.
You know, like one of those like
schoolboy.
amateur pipes.
Yes.
You know?
I'm going
A
to go.
starter pipe.
Yeah, you know.
One
yeah.
of those $5.99 crack pipes you find in South O.
I'd go regular sized pipe too. I just don't think there's enough opportunity there. Iowa's one of the teams that were playing.
Yeah.
They stopped everybody on the road.
I think if he has a shot at it, comes off of a big game this week because Iowa's defense is too good to expect over 100 yards. So I would say pipe dream.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska finishes the year with any player over 500 yards receiving.
That's another John Holmes pipe.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Kemp is number one with
What does he have?
246 yards. He'd have to have 254.
And who's throwing him the ball?
Exactly. Like,
Billy Kemp's going to light us up for 300 yards this week.
This is the one that I thought for sure Matt would be like, no pipe, Billy Kemp's got this.
No, Billy's lost his luster, man.
I deleted the T-shirt.
he's had a hard-on for Billy Kemp all
What?
year. So.
Oh, he's been a
I
massive
lost
Billy
it.
Kemp.
I just thought I thought
You thought he was sexy.
with his
just
play
say it.
style. Well, he's
That's
a
what the
gorgeous
shirt
man.
said.
But I thought with
Billy
his play
Kemp,
style,
he's gorgeous.
I thought with his play style and the fact that we weren't going to be able to throw the ball down the field that much, he'd have a lot of
I
opportunity.
did
this year.
think we did a question before the season on our show, and oh man, it's going to age terribly. I think it was
Yeah.
like the number of catches that he had this year.
We had the same thing. I think it was
60?
60-something. Yeah,
I
we
thought
had
it was going to be a ton,
Oh, my
and
God.
it just didn't happen.
Hey, before we go any further, I want all you junkies to like, subscribe, and share.
Well, like right now, I'm looking at the receiving leaders. You know who's number 3 in receiving yards for us so far this year?
Oh boy,
Lloyd?
Is it Marcus Washington?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Marcus
He
Washington,
hasn't played since week 2.
who played 6 games.
Oh,
is
he made it that far?
Is 3rd in receiving yards at 176.
I did not realize he made it that far in the season. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, me too.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Well, are we counting other players though, like outside of our team, with receiving yards from
like
our quarterbacks?
Tommy Hill
No, like
with his interception return yards.
Well, along those
I'm talking
lines.
about other players that we're throwing the ball to.
oh yeah,
One
yeah,
of my
yeah.
friends, he texted me a screenshot today of Nebraska's tackle leaders, and like you scroll down near the bottom, and it's a ton of offensive players that start showing up because
Oh,
of
I'm
all
sure.
the turnovers. It's
That's
so funny.
fucking crazy.
That's awful.
But how many guys have had an opportunity to get those tackles too?
yeah, seriously.
Well, like I'm looking at the tackle leader. The top one is Ty Hahn as far as for offensive guys. But Ty Hahn, he only has 2
That's why
tackles.
they love him so much.
Is that special teams or is that
Yeah,
actually?
and he was wondering
so
that too. But it does get pretty funny is when you start scrolling down. It's
Well,
like, oh, look at all these
Jeff
guys. with-
Sims is 34th on the tackle list.
Jesus Christ.
That's even more bonkers
34th?
when you
Yeah.
realize like how little he's been playing lately.
Yeah.
I mean, he only has 1 tackle, but still, he's 34th on this list.
And it's probably a tackle for, well, it has to be something
It
that he
definitely
threw.
wasn't the Purdue game.
Ethan Piper has a tackle. Newilly has a
Pipe or no
tackle.
pipe?
Ben Scott has
Yeah.
a tackle.
No more pipe.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's wild. that's actually the guy I was going to bring up when we were talking about Benhart. Was a lot of people like some of the flash plays that Ethan Piper made downfield, some of those bulldozer pancake blocks that he was making down the field. But I think he was actually one of our weaker offensive linemen before he went down. Like, I'm not trying to kick him while he's down,
Piper?
but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he just he wasn't good. He just made a couple flash
Well,
plays,
that and Corcoran.
Yeah.
and most people
Cork
don't
board.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most
Piper had a
people-
ton of penalties too.
Yeah, more like crumbled cork from a wine bottle that's been thrown overboard.
I think you're talking about the crumbled cork when it accidentally falls into the wine bottle, and you're like, well, this is.
Yeah, it's terrible. However you want to do it, and then it's washed up on fucking shore. I don't even know. It's bad. I don't want to get into him.
I mean, hell, just
He-
real quickly back to the Benhart stuff. Before the 2022 season, we had you in for the season preview.
Yes.
And one of my season questions was, how many penalties will Bryce Benhart have? And now look at us talking about him, like propping him up and stuff.
That's another thing that I think has been not talked about hardly at all. If you look at this last game, we almost made it a full 4 halves without any penalties.
Yep.
And you think about how awful on the offensive side of the ball our penalty situation was coming into this season. That is one of the biggest, most improvements that I've seen of anything all season long. Because if you think back to week 2, 3, 4, we were having 9, 10, 11, 12 penalties
It
a
was a
game.
ton.
These last 2 or 3 games, the penalty side of things, haven't been able to fix the fucking turnovers, but the penalty side of things has been amazing.
Well, I may or may not have already had a question about that later on. So
Just a little foreshadowing.
Yeah. Before we jump into the offense and the defense of Wisconsin, I wanted to ask you guys this question. What do you think, who do you think has been more disappointing this year, Nebraska or Wisconsin? Both teams sit at 5-5. Vegas odds preseason had Nebraska basically right where we are.
Mhm.
Wisconsin was 8.7 wins, I think was the average target on most metrics, and their over-under was 8.5.
And they were favored to win the West.
Yeah.
Right? And they started in the top 25.
And everybody was drooling over Luke Fickell, Luke Fickell.
Including yours truly. I'd say that them for sure. And I think the really horrible part for them, and there's a Wisconsin fan who actually listens to our show, and I've heard from him a couple times, is the quotes coming out of there are horrible right now, man. Like everyone's been saying it this week, but the 2004 Nebraska vibes are very strong.
That was my next question before we got into offense and defense was how much does this look and feel like the Bill Callahan move at Wisconsin?
Yeah,
because he's trying to do something so different than their bread and butter.
Yeah, and the guy, some of these quotes are, talking about we got to find the ones who want to be here, and it's like, ugh. When I start hearing those quotes, especially in week 12, 13, when we're in November, guys, so we're gonna find who wants to play. It's like, okay, well, I mean, it's Thanksgiving next week, so
or
the
when
season's done.
Or when he says we're okay physically, we just question mentally.
Yeah, that was in his opening statement when that was Luke Fickell who said that, and then former players are tweeting stuff. It's not good, man. It's bad.
Do you think it's a butting of heads between the coaching staff and the players, or do you think it's more of just the players themselves are infighting about who's going to follow, who's not?
My theory would be that, judging the former player tweet, is that the Wisconsin community really wanted Jim Leonard to get the job. And so they felt like Paul Chryst got a raw deal, and then they felt like Leonard got a raw deal. And we know how it is around here, man. When former players start saying stuff and they have any moment to be like, I told you, like they really start popping off. So I think that's where a lot of it's coming from, is just the vibes of this whole thing are bad.
It's funny that the 2004 stuff with Callahan is being brought up now, that comparing it. I said this in almost all of our preseason shows. You said, oh, absolute guaranteed loss. Wisconsin's going to kick our ass. Luke Fickell this and all that stuff. And I said, I'm not buying into.
They were one of my only 2 guaranteed losses this year.
I said multiple times, I'm not buying into Luke Fickell at least in year 1. I'm all in on Luke Fickell being a good coach long term at Wisconsin. I think he'll be fine. But year 1, making that transition, and I made the comparison to 2004, the drastic change of offense that would bringing in Phil Longo, bring in Bill Callahan and the West Coast offense here and all that stuff. The drastic change, that I thought that was going to be a much tougher transition, at least in year 1, than a lot of people were giving Wisconsin credit for. I don't know that I would say that the bigger disappointment one way or the other, because I kind of thought that Wisconsin was going to be a disappointment. So I don't, but I also don't think that Nebraska's a disappointment
so
right
I'm
now.
not talking about you personally. I'm talking about in general. I feel like Nebraska fans, if you take a step back, if you get off your high horse about, well, the defense is basically a national championship defense if we had an offense to pair with it. If you remove yourself away from that and you put yourself back in August, the first week of August, and you're thinking, okay, well, as I'm listening to the preview shows, if I'm thinking about things, I'm really trying to justify getting past 6 or 7 wins. And so I feel like most people, like I know myself personally, I picked us to win 7 or 8. That's where I had us. I'm not going to talk about Matt. Matt was wasted by the time we got done with our preseason show, and somehow talked himself into an 11-1 record.
Hey,
he got done, and I go. I'm tallying everything up and this and that. Jed even had himself at 7-5, and Matt goes, the fuck I am 11. I'm like, dude, like I've been writing this down.
So we did the game by game.
Yeah.
And he just kept saying win, win.
He said no.
Like he wasn't keeping track as he was going.
Hey, I had a good
It was
time.
fantastic.
I knew our defense was going to be amazing. I shouldn't expect our offense
Sure
to
you
be
did.
this bad.
That's the funny thing, though, thinking back, is the defense was the thing you had the biggest questions about.
Mm-hmm.
We all were wondering, is the scheme going to be able to work here?
The defensive line,
The
all
defensive
the young
line.
guys.
You were giving me your whole, I'm scared. The same thing he did for the preseason show you were on prior to last year is I'm scared of the defensive line. We don't have that much depth. The defensive line is basically our deepest unit.
Yep.
It's awesome. It's so good.
Fantastic. And the coaching has been amazing.
They tackle so well.
And if you look at the way that they evaluated the players, they evaluated the talent that they brought in, that youth that's already stepping up and doing, like Tony White's pointing it out in press conferences, Prince Will pulling NFL-style moves out, 4th game on the field. Mm-hmm. That's stuff that, unless you're a really, really solid coach, you don't see in year 1 at all. The offense is completely the opposite of what we expected.
It's a tire fire.
we all have our opinions. We all kind of know, and we've talked about this enough.
Yeah.
What do you think of Marcus Satterfield? Is this an experiment gone wrong? Is this give him some time?
So I never
Well,
was.
we have to give him time because we know he's not going.
Yeah,
anywhere.
he's
But-
That's been made clear.
Yeah, I was never a huge fan of his hire. One of the things that I really try to look into when a move is made is like, how does the fan base of the previous stop feel? Like, you read a lot of the Syracuse folks after last year, and they're like, oh, man, you got Tony White. Like, congrats, this is going to be awesome. You guys are going to love him. Sure enough, everyone does. And Satterfield, the South Carolina fans were like, deuces. Thanks for taking him off our hands.
We'll help you
And
pack.
I was like, ooh, man, I don't know.
Carolina fans said the same thing about Rhule, though.
And that's true. And it's funny because one of my brothers, his wife is a Panthers fan, and her mom is a Panthers fan, and they were talking so much shit this offseason. Now the Panthers are trash too. So yeah, I've
With
never
a great quarterback pick.
I've never been a huge fan of Satterfield, but that's just like his offenses. I think are what they are. I like Chet said,
I don't think I want that in an offensive coordinator, though.
I know.
It is what it is.
Yeah, seriously. And,
I don't want that.
And he's right. Like, they're not going to make a move. And so, hopefully they can find a quarterback that is able to mask some of these issues. But I mean, it's reached a point this year where it really is kind of hard to totally judge him. So that's why we kind of have to get into the micro debates about, why were you throwing on third and whatever instead of just running the football. So, like, I guess at least we're getting to discuss something else, because for like 2 months now, it's been I've had to give the guy an incomplete grade because he's been putting out random quarterbacks and running the option, which was not the plan. Obviously, coming.
That's my biggest thing. Like, I'm giving him a pass for injuries, all that stuff, but also how much of his offense that he actually wants to run is different than what the offense that he wants to run.
Totally.
We don't know that for sure. I mean, we assume that this isn't really that close. We just don't know how close it is. So I kind of just want to give him a year with hopefully healthy players next year and judge after that.
Well, my big thing, the biggest struggle that I have right now is I want to absolutely just destroy Satterfield.
I do too.
It feels good. It sounds good. You can't fucking figure out a quarterback, period. Like, I don't know, maybe Fedoni can throw the ball. He can't do anything else. So I'd be worried about him dropping a snap. You'd have to put him under center. No, but in all reality, if you look at every other position that Rhule hired to come in on this staff, I don't have a question mark for them. Even the Tony White move, not a guy he knew. Even keeping Raiola, not a guy he knew, and a guy who the fans already fucking hated.
Yep.
Whether or not it was to try and gain favor with the family, to try and bring somebody in, I really don't think he makes a long-term move like that. But he also seems so committed to his process and the way that he does things and the specific things that he looks for from a character perspective and the way you carry yourself and you talk and you're going to follow in line with what he's going after. What's not clicking on the offense side other than he doesn't have the personnel? We have an amazing personnel director, essentially, if you want to call him that, in Coop, who is doing a fantastic job identifying talent on the defensive side of the ball. I know that he helps on the offensive side of the ball, but is he our only guy over there? Like, is Satterfield not a great offensive judge of talent, character? What?
Yeah, and I mean, that's when you look back at the quarterback situation specifically, and you kind of start there, and it's like they royally screwed up with Sims. I mean, that much is so obvious. And so the lessons that they learned from this season in terms of that, and I look at the other positions too. I mean, not to go all the way back to August, but I mean, how fast the wide receiver room changed from what they expected to what they got because of Xavier Betts leaving and then the injuries. And it's like, wow, so that room has just completely changed from July 31st to August 31st. And so that happened. And then over the course of the year, all the other injuries that have happened. So that's why I'm just so hard pressed. But on the other side, you mentioned it, the defense. It's like, how are they so good with that side of the ball? It's not just because they were left like these amazing pieces. Because like there's
a couple.
Yeah, they're gonna have some all conference guys that came out of nowhere in that regard. But we're not watching like a Penn State or a Michigan or a Ohio State defense in terms of like loaded with NFL type guys. They are just getting every single ounce possible out of that side of the ball. And that's, I think, the most frustrating part is it doesn't feel like the offense is. The offense doesn't feel like it's maximizing. I think the defense is maximizing its talent totally this season.
I think
they're getting more than max out of it.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Omar Brown, who most people didn't even know his name last year.
Yeah.
And this year, it's like, dude, you're You're making national grade boards. You're making everything under the
You
sun
mentioned
play
Ty
wise.
Robinson earlier, and like he was a guy that I think people had just been like, okay, well, he wasn't the player that I was hoping he would be. And
Yeah,
you know,
we were at least
same with
excited about him.
Hutmaker.
Hutmaker was the bigger surprise to me this
yeah,
year.
totally.
Because Ty Robinson was a guy we talked about as being a leader or a need to be leader on the defensive side of the ball this year. I feel like he's been able to just play this year.
Yeah.
The expectations weren't all on him after like week 1 or week 2, and it was just, hey, dude, get out there and smash.
yeah.
Well, one of my other things about the defense is not just that Tony White was not he didn't know Rhule, he didn't never coach with Rhule, but none of these defensive assistants ever coached with Tony White.
Yes.
So the fact that not just the players can come in and learn that defense the way that they have and execute the defense the way that they have, but these assistant coaches have to do also another crash course learning Tony White's defense, how he wants these players to go, and they're playing the way that they are. Just the whole thing all together, top to bottom, is crazy.
Do you super zone in on the press conferences? Like, do you pay close attention to them?
It's funny. I watched the Monday one for sure, and then the other ones, it's like bits and pieces that I kind of hone in on.
The biggest thing that I've seen
ones that you kind of know are going to be kind of storyline driven, like Monday.
That's why the Monday
like
presser,
watching Satterfield the last couple of weeks,
and then obviously the post game press conference. But yeah, like that, the Monday one I think is, I mean, it's easily the best Monday press conference since I've been watching this team. You get so much out of it, and obviously Rhule always comes in with something or something that he's going to like hit.
Last week's was fantastic. 36 minutes of
it's nuts, man.
Just explanations on explanations.
And like I think the thing, it's obvious that there's a lot of folks that are like frustrated right now, and even some that are ready to get rid of Rhule, and I think those people are morons. But
that's wild to me.
One of the things that I really like about him is he thinks so big picture, and like, even if it doesn't work out to the way in which like we hope or think it can, I totally buy that he has like an exact idea of what it's supposed to look like along the way. And I think that that's the cool part is like when they make a mistake, it's not like, I don't need the whole put it on me. Like, cool, you're a head coach. We should put it on you.
He did a lot of that on Monday.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't care for that.
Yeah, see, so like I don't get my rocks off on that. But I like when he explains the thought process of here's why we did it. Even if I disagree, I would much rather, I like that stuff a lot more than the put it on me. Because you're a head coach. Of course I'm going to put it on you.
His explanation of the third down play at the end of the game is what changed my opinion of that
interesting.
play.
Yeah. So like, even though I disagree, I'm appreciative of him trying to explain it instead of just the usual BS that we've seen from coaches around here.
I'm the coach. Don't question me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he
execute process.
He genuinely wants to have a conversation about it. And like one of the things that I've heard about him is like he's met with quite a few writers off the record at various points since he's been here, and to kind of give a little background on things. And I think like that's the type of stuff that happens with like NFL coaches. And that's the type of stuff that happens with like really experienced good college football coaches, is that just giving a little extra color behind the scenes to like, here is why this is happening or here's why that's happening. And I think that stuff can be valuable.
So the main reason I asked that question was the point that Jed made about the way that Tony White has come in, and they not only did he have to learn everything that Rhule likes to do, but all the coaches had to learn how he does things. I think the biggest difference in what you saw at Syracuse with Tony White or any of his other stops where he was just an assistant, I think if you look at the upgrade over where he was, because player-wise, like we said, he's maximized. They're getting everything out of these dudes. I think we've got some great position guys, but I do think that if you look at specifically Tony White's press conferences from the beginning of the year, especially the offseason, to now, he's completely modulated into Coach Rhule speak. Yeah. Like he now sounds like Rhule when he talks. He didn't before. It was all buzz phrases that he came in with and all these different things. Now he's talking about process and he's talking about all these things that I feel like that was maybe the missing piece for him to really become that elite coordinator. They love the word elite. And then throwing also, he's got a little bit better players than he had last year, but there's nobody on our roster right now that you look at other than just sheer size over Syracuse's roster last year and say, oh, that's a massive upgrade. That's a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, you can now, obviously, having seen him play this year, but preseason, we looked at it, we saw it, we're like, I don't know, the defensive line's a little bit bigger, but they're less deep, and
that change that you're talking about and him just in his press conferences kind of speaks to who he is as a coach. I mean, if you look at a teacher, the best teachers are good students. He has clearly taught not only his assistants and all of the players how to do this brand new defensive scheme. He's obviously doing all of the learning too. So his change in the press conferences and how he's become one of Rhule's guys, it's not
The
shocking to me at all. Call it what you will. It's not shocking at all because of how quickly he turned this defense into what it is.
Yeah. It's fun. It's exciting. That was a long way around of me asking if Wisconsin or Nebraska were more disappointing. Hold on, Tony White. Don't leave just yet. I'm not quite finished.
It's not just the San Diego State job that's open that scares me, but if Dino Babers gets fired at Syracuse, I'm kind of worried about that one too.
Yeah, he is someone, I mean, for all the obvious reasons, you want back for a year too. But the one that I want to see is just kind of the continued evolution and the continued growth he was just talking about. Like, I want to see what that looks like. Give
What
it a
does it
second
look in
year
year two?
Yeah, what does it look like with more good play? You know, with recruiting and
And with
bringing
how
in
many
guys?
guys we have returning on
Dude,
that.
and see, that's the thing. It's like, what the hell's going to happen with these young freshmen that are going to then have a year of weight room and diet and all that stuff? Is like, what will that look like? Because right now they're babies still, you know?
We might accidentally kill somebody. Who knows?
Don't you call Prince Will a baby?
Yeah, don't come after
First
me,
of
Prince
all,
Will. I support you.
I don't know if you're listening or not, Mama.
His mama be yelling.
Yeah.
She gave us a follow on Twitter this week. She follows 45 people on Twitter. I was like, holy shit. Is somebody pissed that we're pronouncing his name? Your mom's a yelling?
Your mama yelling.
Your mom's a yelling.
I didn't realize that he had a second brother that was also playing college football. I knew about his brother down in Florida. I didn't know about his other brother. That's wild. Crazy shit.
What a family.
Yeah.
No
What
kidding.
a grocery bill.
No.
Can you imagine that shit?
No kidding.
She's just glad they're all out of the house now.
Yeah, there's another one of us and a sister. My parents know exactly what she's going through. They'll all be able to take care of her once they're in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and a little bit right now with NIL, but
Yeah. Is Prince Will getting NIL right now?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure he is.
If he's not, he will be.
everybody on the team does. I mean, at least something.
All right, boys. Jed, why don't you lead us off here this week?
Well, I know we like to do the interesting stuff, but there's nothing interesting about Wisconsin other than on October 10th, 25 years ago against Purdue, they started the jump around tradition, which is a great tradition.
It is.
You've been
I've been there
iconic.
one time, yeah.
Were you up in the press box?
I was in the press box. It's pretty cool.
Did it feel like it was going to collapse?
Oh, it shakes, yeah. I mean, because I was in the
That's what I
broadcaster's
always hear.
booth. Yeah, it was actually Kevin's first year doing full-time BTN stuff. And so, yeah, we're up there, and it's weird. You know, I mean, it's like legitimately shaking. So, yeah, it was cool, and it was a garbage non-conference game. They were playing like Tennessee Tech or something, and all the students left right after jump around, which
No kidding.
apparently happened last week, too, with them. And word on the street is it's hunting season up in Wisconsin.
That was what I was going to say is
Hunting season, a lot of
opening day of hunting season.
Yeah, so people
First
are
day
thinking,
to tag a deer is Saturday.
So people are thinking that
Yeah, but it's a night game, so I don't know.
it might be a light atmosphere on Old
Well,
South.
there's going to be a lot of dudes that are out hunting at 4:00 in the morning,
on Sunday.
drunk.
Mm,
No, on Saturday.
on Saturday.
Yeah, because it starts at midnight on Saturday. A lot of those dudes will be out there. They ain't gonna make the game.
They're Wisconsin. They're professionals. They can make it.
I don't believe that. I don't get that loyalty there, but okay. I don't have any personal experience of going up to Madison. My dad has been up for 2 different games and said it was the
Horrible.
worst experience outside of going to Colorado for a game that he's ever been to. They treat Nebraska fans like shit up there.
Yeah, I've never been to a Nebraska-Wisconsin
What the
game
fuck
up there.
did we do to them?
Yeah, seriously. Same uniforms.
not
I
like
think.
They copied us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We gave them their program.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Jesus Christ.
They don't like that we came back to the Big Ten to try and take it back from them,
Hmm.
or came to the Big Ten to try and take it back from them.
the only
like a
thing
bunch
that
of
like I
sour
kind of thought was
bitches.
a little funny when I was looking up the whole jump around history stuff. So, like I said, it was 25 years ago in 1998. And so I went on just Wikipedia for the 1998 Wisconsin season, just to kind of look to see if there was anything weird that happened that season. And you know, when you go on Wikipedia, on the right side, it'll have like their record, their ranking, the head coach, all that stuff. They'll just kind of list this, the offensive coordinator. Right below the offensive coordinator, then said offensive scheme, and it was Brad Childress, former NFL, longtime NFL head coach. Offensive scheme for Wisconsin in 1998, according to Wikipedia, just simply said Smash Mouth.
That
was
was
one
their
of those Ron
scheme?
Dayne years.
I don't know what kind of
What?
scheme that is, but yeah, Ron Dayne, that is. That,
I mean, I've heard of Smash Mouth football, but I thought that was just,
No.
3 yards a cloud of dust type of reference.
yeah, it literally just said offensive scheme,
Smash
smash
mouth.
mouth.
So there's one page left in the notebook, and they were like, just write Smash Mouth on the front of that bitch. There's just an X on the first page.
I
That's
was
it.
like, okay, whatever.
That's the whole offensive line scheme.
I'd say that's a funner fact than the
somebody.
25-year thing. Smash Mouth.
That's fucking hilarious.
Jesus.
Are you on offense or defense this week?
I'm on offense.
Jump on it, man.
I mean, you kind of have to start with Braylon Allen. We don't really know if he's going to play. The first thing Luke Fickell said when asked, is Braylon Allen going to play? He literally said, I don't know. So he had an ankle injury a couple weeks ago. He did play last week. He had 3 carries for 3 yards, but he left the game in the second possession of the game and didn't come back. So, who knows?
That was on a key play, and he didn't look right.
Yeah.
Like, he straight up looked hobbled. It looked kind of more like one of those hope and a prayer. It feels good right now. Let's go ahead and try it. And the first move he made was, nope.
Yeah.
Kind of like Harburg.
Their quarterback came back from a broken hand last week as well. He had a decent enough game. He obviously didn't throw any touchdowns because they only scored 3 points against Northwestern. But he threw the ball 45 times, which saying that as a Wisconsin
Crazy on a
quarterback.
broken hand.
Well, yeah, I don't know how. Was that? Do you remember if it was his throwing
It
hand?
was his
or-
throwing hand.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty positive it was his throwing hand.
Okay. But just saying a Wisconsin quarterback threw the ball 45 times in one game rather than like 4
Yeah.
is still weird to me. I just don't understand.
Especially
it.
when it was clearly working so well.
That was so, because I was doing the post-game show, and at whatever point when I realized that was the score, that they were down 24-3, and I'm like,
at halftime.
what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And I've been saying that for, especially the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to get super upset about them losing to Ohio State or even Iowa, but the last 2 weeks with Indiana and Northwestern, like that's when this season went from, oh man, it's been kind of a tough year one to the 5-alarm fire that it's been over the last couple of weeks for former alums.
And I'm going to go hunting instead of go to the game.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a real concern. I've heard that it's really easy for Nebraska fans to get tickets right now. People like making that trip. It's not that bad of a drive.
Yeah.
I think we'll see some
And
good.
maybe finally go up there and see a Husker win for the first time.
Yeah,
I
no
think
shit.
people are really going to want to do that.
They didn't look nearly this vulnerable until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
And they've looked bad the last 2 weeks.
They look-
Plain and simple.
Well, they're averaging 11 points a game in the last 3 games. Like,
And I will say this: I don't know if
hello,
it was.
Nebraska.
I don't know if
that
you can.
bodes well.
I don't know if you can give Nebraska credit for this or not. But Illinois has looked better since they got their dick
Yeah, they
stomped by
have.
us. Northwestern has looked good since they got beat by
way
us.
better.
If that dude does not get a real look at that coaching job, I don't know who the fuck else.
I don't
they
know
think
why
they're
he
gonna
doesn't
get
have
in
a
there.
contract already
Yeah,
right
no
now.
shit.
But
Let it sit on his desk. Maybe he's looking for more money.
I was
don't
going to
know.
say maybe he won't sign it because he knows he can go somewhere else after this season.
Yeah, he's looking for a different car wash. I did find out. I looked it up though. It was his throwing hand. He
Oh,
broke
was
it
it?
against Iowa.
Okay. I mean, the transition for this offense is not going well. They just have one decent wide receiver. He came back last week off of a 1-week injury. He only had 1 target. He's a 5'10" guy. He's basically a Billy Kemp type. He's very good,
Cool.
DK, but
Wonder how he looks.
He's got more than double the yards.
and they do have another guy, Will Pauling, who has kind of emerged as their go-to guy. He had 10 catches last week. And he has 3 touchdowns on the season, but they were the only time he got the touchdowns was when Tanner Mordecai was out. So Tanner Mordecai missed 3 games. He gets his 3 touchdowns. Now Tanner Mordecai's back, and he got 10 catches, but he didn't get in the end zone. So
Shit.
the offensive line has been the exact same all season. They've started every game, all 5 guys. They've allowed the 4th fewest sacks in the Big Ten with only 16.
Shocking for a Wisconsin offensive line.
So, I mean, I think the biggest story is the transition of that offense with Phil Longo has not gone well, and I don't think that you can put it towards injuries like you can with Nebraska's offense to a certain extent.
Well, I mean, you lose a top 10 running back in the country. That's going to hurt.
Lost him for 1 week, though. I mean,
That's fair.
well, 1.5, I guess, because since he technically only played like 3 a handful of plays last
I
week.
thought they
but-
lost him before the Illinois game. Thought he was out for like 2.5 games.
No, I think he was only out. I think he was only out for the
So
one.
it's funny that you said, because I thought the same thing earlier today when I was like, I'm going to go look at some of their production numbers and whatnot. And I go to the game log for him, and there were more games that showed up than I would have expected. Because I'll be honest, I haven't really watched a whole lot of Wisconsin this year. And his production, he only has 3 games this year with over 100 yards.
Yeah, he only missed the Indiana game.
Yeah, he's just.
I think he got hurt in Ohio State
Yes.
though because he only had 10 carries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
you were-
No,
you
no.
were-
I'm just. He just hasn't been the guy that we thought he was going to be. Obviously, Mordecai has struggled, and yeah, I think that because I was someone who bought into them being good this year and having success on offense because I kept going back to the Phil Longo, and you heard me say it a million times. They ran the ball at North Carolina. Like this isn't just bringing in an air raid guy for the sake of being air raid.
And they ran RPO a shit ton.
Yeah, and it hasn't been working from the first game. I mean, they were struggling in September. They had the Georgia Southern game early on. They had the Washington State game,
yeah.
which they lost. And so
I
they
kept
just had a
waiting
lot
for
of
him
issues.
to turn it on.
I know. And
It seemed like it was just like, oh, I'm just waiting for them to click.
Yeah.
Like, they just got to get it together.
And Jed had the numbers a few minutes ago. They have, 11 points per game in the last so,
in their 3-game losing streak.
and then you throw in the 6 that they had versus Iowa, in October. Like, they have taken, I'd say, they've regressed. And they've taken a big step back as the competition's gotten tougher. And again, last 2 weeks, to lose to these teams, and they should have lost to Illinois. They had that comeback win over Illinois. That game, they were getting dominated throughout much of it. So, yeah, it's been a disappointment, and that side of the ball has been a big reason why.
I know you mentioned that their offensive line has been steady as far as pass blocking and stuff. What does their tackle for loss look like? How is their offense affecting that as far as are they running a lot of swing pass type stuff? Are they?
You mean?
North
Carolina
ran a lot of that swing pass type stuff with their outsides there. I'm wondering if we're gonna be able to play to our strengths or if it's gonna be more of a down the field type pass play.
You mean Wisconsin throwing the ball down?
Offense, yeah.
They don't. It's almost like they're trying to do a hybrid of old Wisconsin and this Phil Longo offense. I agree. Everybody says the Phil Longo offense. They just hear air raid and they think just chucking the ball all over. But that's not what he had 2 1,000-yard running backs one year at North Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Mac Brown was still the head coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible head coach, but yeah.
Different debate for a different time. I'm like, the guy's got an Addy. You can't call him a terrible head coach.
I can. I just did. They've allowed the 4th most, or 4th fewest, I guess it would be, tackles for loss on the season. So, they can make plays
in the
out
conference
there,
or the country?
in the conference.
Okay.
So it's like, I think it's a little bit like the Maryland offense where, they're there. They can make a couple of plays, but
Yeah, but Mordecai
just
is not
don't do
nearly as athletic as
no. But I'm just saying, talking about the whole offense because also Maryland doesn't have a running back like Braylon Allen. As much as he has not lived up to the Braylon Allen hype, he's still much better than anything Maryland has at running back.
Sure.
So, it's kind of maybe 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They don't have an explosive offense, so it doesn't really matter.
Do you think this is going to be one of those ground and pound type games against us?
Yeah. Or they're going to try, at least.
And the weather's supposed to be solid. It's not going to be that cold, and it's not going to be windy, and there's not any precipitation in the forecast. So,
yeah.
In theory, the weather shouldn't affect this game whatsoever.
No.
It'll just be the offenses being bad.
Yeah. What do you got on the D?
Their defense, kind of like last week, they're just average. There's nothing
They're
exciting
not
about
a
them.
Wisconsin defense that we're
not
used
at all.
to.
They're literally ranked 7 out of 14 teams in the Big Ten. They're for total defense. They give up about 135 yards a game on the ground, just over 200 yards in the air. There's just nothing exciting about them. They also don't really take the ball away. They're only -2 on their margin for the year, but they have 10 interceptions, 3 fumbled takeaways. They just don't do that much on defense.
It's funny. The offense has gotten so much pub and how bad they have been, and the Phil Longo stuff. The defense just being average, I think, is the bigger story in terms of why they're so bad.
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't retain him? Do you think he wouldn't stay?
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Without
Why
any
wouldn't you
info,
stay in
I
a
would
D
assume.
coordinator position at least, where you're already known, where you're beloved? instead of taking a fucking analyst job for Illinois.
But if you think that you should have gotten the head coaching job, why are you going to stay at that same place?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. He has the name recognition to be. I mean, granted, I know he's not a
Maybe he
defensive
thinks he's
coordinator
Bo
now,
Pelini, I
but
guess.
he
I get
will
it.
be a defensive coordinator at some point. So you just move on from the place that you thought you should have had the job.
And maybe
at.
you pull back a little bit this year, you know. And honestly, there's something to be said for like the idea of Bo. Like, look, he was never going to get the chance to be the defensive coordinator for Callahan, but he wouldn't have wanted that job, and it would have been pretty toxic.
That's true.
You know,
that's valid.
And immediately now, you know, people would be like, "Wait, it should have been." I mean, they're already saying that. Imagine if the fans could say it should have been
If
him.
he was standing next to Fickell
He's
on the sideline,
oh, that could have been super uncomfortable.
that would have been very uncomfortable.
I mean, it depends on how professional he is, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like Bo is a toxic human being
Yeah.
in general.
I've never gotten that vibe from him at all.
I didn't
So,
either, and that's part of what shocked me, and the fact that Fickell would let him go
Yeah.
when he was the guy. I mean, you had even Braylon Allen said he tweeted it out preseason before Fickell was hired. If they don't hold on to him, if they don't retain him, I'm gone. I'm in a transfer portal, and he did for what 5 minutes, and then pulled back just like everybody else did. Fickell was the hot hire.
Yeah.
I don't get why this hasn't worked.
I know it's weird, and I still buy into it long term, like Jed
Yeah.
does. But
Well,
just
look at what he did at Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't deny that.
yes, but there's been just enough negativity that it's hard to get out of that cycle.
It also might not work in Wisconsin.
The other thing that I learned today, and I did not know this ahead of time, Wisconsin, they have stricter academic rules than what a lot of the other Big Ten schools. They're more along the Michigan line than they are along anything else. They also don't allow JUCOs. So he
Wisconsin
can't,
doesn't?
Yeah, they don't allow JUCOs. I don't know why. I didn't look into it that much. It's just something that I heard. They don't allow JUCOs, so him turning the program and being able to bring in a bunch of extra guys that might have been able to help out this year right away might not have been as available to him as possible. I thought when he went out and got his quarterback, this was like they identified Mordecai as like, if Wisconsin gets Mordecai, he's going to be able to run that Cincinnati offense that, you know, you're bringing in Longo, you're bringing in the ideas from Cincinnati. He's going to be their guy. They're going to be able to roll with this. It just hasn't worked.
No.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. And if Fickell had tried to come in here and done everything that he did, because I know a lot of fans. Well, if Fickell was actually available, why didn't we get him?
Yep.
We had to settle for Matt Rhule, who just shit his pants with the Panthers. Other than this guy who should have had the Ohio State job. Come on, he already knows the Big Ten. Everybody was pissed.
Yep.
And you know, we talked about it. We questioned it. Matt Rhule was one of my guys. He was one of my two guys from the very beginning. It was him and Bill O'Brien. Those two guys have done the most resurrecting of programs in recent memory of any programs that you can. I wanted one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We got one of them. I was happy. And then Fickell went up there, and I was like, oh, damn, Fickell's a fucking good coach.
Yeah.
You talked about it. We talked about this. I kind of feel like we got the better deal.
But maybe, and you kind of almost said it where you said maybe it just doesn't work at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We may or may not have recently seen a group of 5 head coach that was successful at a location go to a place that we all thought
Jen,
was
who are you
a slam
talking
dunk.
about? Who are you talking about, Jen?
So, I mean, when you say,
who is this?
why is it not working? Well,
Wait till it starts snowing
mean-
and we'll talk about it.
we've kind of seen.
This seems like a very prime example. Who is this?
I'm just saying.
Billy Napier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Napier.
Yeah.
Are you putting this person up on a mountain or something?
Nope. I'm just cleaning this dust off the table. This white stuff.
Seriously, tell everybody who you're talking about.
Everybody knows who the fuck I'm talking about. That dumb piece of shit down in Arizona.
Wait, now I'm confused.
He lives
where he
in
lives.
Arizona now. Scott Frost lives in Arizona now.
Wait,
Oh.
you're talking about Scott? Oh, sorry.
My bad.
Somebody
I-
had to say it
You
because
know
this
what's
got confusing.
You know what's really fucking funny is I completely blanked on the Scott Frost reference. I thought you were going to the offensive coordinator.
You
And
didn't think I was talking about
at
Scott Frost this
Colorado.
whole fucking
You talked
time?
about
I thought you were
cocaine.
talking.
Jesus.
Missed it.
Okay,
Oh,
when I said everybody knows who I'm talking about, okay, everybody but you.
yes, everybody but me.
gonna
Okay,
roll-
so
gonna
second
roll on.
example. Second example would be OC out in Colorado. What's his name from Kent
Sean
State?
Lewis.
This is too
yeah,
far
Sean
gone.
Lewis. It's not too far gone. This is a second great example. Sean Lewis left Group of 5 school. He was getting looked at from other places like Tulane. In fact, I think he had an offer.
Wisconsin talked about him for at least a second because he played at Wisconsin.
Didn't he have an offer from Tulane and then wind up turning them down, and then their head coach stayed?
I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure that's how it went down, and then he took that job as the OC to get replaced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because, it's nothing to do with an offensive line or, anything else on the team.
Or him.
Defense doesn't matter.
The defense.
Not great.
You should be scoring 700 points a game. My son's the quarterback, for fuck's sake. That's where I thought you were going with that. My bad.
No.
All you had to say was cocaine, and I would have come
I
right
did.
back to
I got to wipe
Frost.
this white dust off the table.
It's like, man, I just wiped this table today.
We're gonna pull this all the way back.
So how about that Wisconsin defense?
Yeah.
There's only really 2 players to look out for on the Wisconsin D. The biggest one is their safety, Hunter Wohler.
Yeah.
He's got like half the team's total tackles for the year. It's insane. He's over 90 on tackles for the year.
He's over 90 already?
He's averaging
Jesus
9.5
Christ.
tackles a game.
Well, the leader in the Big Ten has like 120. So
Who is that?
I don't remember.
Penn State?
And he's one of the guys, too. He's one of the players who had the quotes that have come
Yeah.
out of this week about, like, we're going to find who wants to play.
I did not know that. But he's clearly the guy on their defense.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to use him anywhere. He's got 5 tackles for a loss on the season and a sack. Like, they'll rush him. They'll do whatever they want with him. So he's the main guy to watch. Also, keep kind of an eye out for Ricardo Hallman just because he has half of their interceptions on the year. He'll probably have at least one in this game, if we're being honest. But outside of that, like I said, the rest of it's just very standard.
Blah.
How does this defense stack up to what they used to run?
I don't know.
Anybody?
I think the biggest thing is they always used to be stacked at linebacker,
Yes.
and they're not.
They used to be big.
Like,
They're not.
Well, that used to be their bread and butter was stopping the run.
yeah.
They were built to stop the Big Ten in November. And it doesn't seem like that anymore.
And they were very opportunistic with takeaways.
Yeah.
that
very
too. And
opportunistic.
you already mentioned they don't have that many takeaways
They
on
have
the
13
season.
on the year.
That's crazy.
They've had 3 in like the last 5 or 6 games,
Yeah.
and they were all in the Ohio State game.
Well, they'll get that in the first half on Saturday night.
I know.
Look, if we just
Get
don't
right
hand
game.
if we just don't hand them the ball, they're not going to go take it from us. Is my point. Like,
Seriously. But
But we
I'm
might
not-
drop
I'm
it on the
not-
ground next to them.
I'm
and
not
just see.
saying we won't. We're gonna have some turnovers. It doesn't seem like their defense really does that much in the game. They do enough to give their offense a chance, but they aren't putting them in a great position.
Do they have anything special on special teams?
No, I mean, they've got a good kicker, but I mean, it's Wisconsin kicker.
Yeah, we know that
Well,
they have a good kicker
we
because their
can't
offense
just
is
say
bad.
it's a Wisconsin something this year because everything seems weird about this team.
That's true.
But if it's a Wisconsin kicker, at least
Yeah,
they
it's
held
just-
something over.
there you go.
I mean, not lately. We haven't been that bad, but
Have you done much assessing Wisconsin prior to this?
No, tomorrow's going to be my
That's your big
deep dive.
breakdown?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'll start deep diving into them, yeah.
When do you guys do like your real breakdown? Like, I listen to the radio, but I listen to it passively. Like, I still work until like 5 or 6 o'clock, depending on what's going on. So I listen to a lot of what you guys do. I throw it on YouTube in the background. Problem is, I spend half my day on the phone.
Uh-huh.
So I've got a headset on, and YouTube has this awesome new feature they just implemented like 6 months ago that it automatically dips down for you if you have a phone call come in through your computer. It's like, this is awesome. I don't even have to pay attention now. It's like this brings it down for me. So I miss a shit ton of what's going on. I just didn't know when you guys did your breakdowns, like deep dive breakdowns for
Yeah,
the game. It'll
so-
be on Wednesday.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're having the play-by-play guy for NBC on the show, so that's going to be kind of the beginning of that. We do our big board preview on Thursday, where we kind of the old Greeks big board from the NFL Today on CBS back in like the 70s, where we look at a bunch of different things, and so that's where I really like to dive into. Okay, what are they doing with the offensive line? What are they doing with the defensive line? And going from there, and then Fridays when we do our keys. Which is, mainly things that Nebraska needs to do, but finding some of the things. I mean, certainly the takeaway number right there, I think that's some really good stuff. Like, they're not taking the ball away a ton this year. They're also not allowing a ton of sacks. Like, that's some really good stuff to kind of build the, how can you find success against them? So, yeah, a lot of stuff Thursday and a lot of stuff Friday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Jed, are you ready to dive into the questions?
I am.
So So I don't know if you remember from the first time you were here.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we did that. There was a fun punt return one, and I was optimistic, and I shouldn't have been. And
You
it wasn't
and I-
even that.
you
Yeah, it
and
wasn't
I-
even that high
Dude,
of a number.
These two have shit on me like at least 15 times in different episodes since then about you and me teaming up on that question. We were both like, "Oh fuck, pump those numbers
Easy.
up. Those are rookie numbers."
Trey Palmer is going to have 75,000 punt return yards.
Yeah,
Oh, dude, we looked like we fucking had our shoes stuffed down our throats.
yeah, we didn't do very good on that one.
No.
Question 1, Emmett Johnson rushing yards. I'm going to see if he has a career day, 89.5 yards. The most carries he's had was last week for 17 carries for 84 yards. Wisconsin has allowed 3 players to rush for over 90 yards on the season. Iowa's running back had 172 against them. So basically, will he get to 90 yards?
So before we answer this, my first question for you is, who's going to be our starting quarterback on Saturday?
Chuba.
Well, I think that's what it sounded like they want. That's what Satterfield sounded like he wants today. But they also said he's really banged up after last week, and you got to be thinking his groin injury, did he re-aggravate it? Is it bad enough that he's not going to be able to play? Because it sounded to me like Sims is healthy, but we really want Chuba out there. We don't know if he's going to be good to go. Do we think it's going to be Chuba for sure?
I know he does.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those, like, which one do you want to have as your emergency quarterback? Like, is Chuba healthy enough to start and hopefully play the whole game? Because we want whoever the starter is to play the whole game. Because otherwise, he's getting pulled for.
He's either
bad
hurt
play.
or he's playing bad.
So it's like, do you want a, hobbled or at least partially hobbled Chuba Purdy to start and use Jeff Sims as the emergency guy, or do you want to have Jeff Sims and more than likely him to have a bunch of turnovers and then have a hobbled guy be your emergency quarterback? It's like, I don't know, because those are really the only 2 guys that are going to play.
Really depends on how severe his injury is.
Well,
we haven't heard
They say he needs surgery, so it's
it's a groin injury, so you either get surgery or you take a shit ton of time off to let it heal. There's no in between. And so you're injured, you're fucked. One way or the other, he's going to have to at least take the entire offseason, probably into next year to heal, or he's going to get surgery. The anticipated answer is he's getting surgery after the season. So how
and he's
long
supposed
can
to
you
have it
go?
this week. He was supposed to have his surgery this week.
It was scheduled? Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's
I
what
don't think that's been said on the record by anybody. But yeah,
Fuck.
it was supposed to be this week.
that's why I'm questioning. Is it
Should I get my dick worked on, or should I go play starting quarterback for Nebraska? Doc, I think I'll call you later.
it kind of depends on if he can be out there without risking worse injury, because that's really got to be the biggest thing that he's considering. If he can play, is if I go out there and I get hit the wrong way, is it going to be worse, or is surgery only going to get me back to a certain percentage? That's really what he has to consider as a player. Otherwise, it really probably only comes down to whether or not he can still run with his injury.
Plus there's only 2 games left. Like, that's the positive,
Yeah.
right? You're at the very end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Your season's going to be done as of this recording in 10 days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just got to get 10 days later.
Do we know do any of you guys know anything about groin injuries? I mean, I know about hernias. That's not the same thing.
I know some, but it really there's several parts to the groin. That's why you need to know what the actual injury is. If he can injure himself worse, I wouldn't put him.
That's
out
what
there.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it something you can cause further damage, or
You're telling me I'm going to lose my
permanent
dick?
damage?
I ain't going out there.
I don't think they classify it as a groin injury if you have a pedal tear.
But that's my
His
point.
dick is really crooked. We gotta fix this.
I think you need an anatomy lesson. But
I didn't say I was a doctor.
I'm not a groin doctor, but oh shit. What was the question again?
this happens a lot.
It wasn't even a question about quarterbacks. That's
I know,
the biggest
I know.
thing.
Emmett Johnson rushing yards,
Oh,
89
that's
and a
right.
half.
It's gonna be over. I'm starting off. It's gonna be over. It's gonna be over by. I think he goes for like 125 this week. I think he finally gets the carries that you've been begging for because of necessity. I think that it's going to be Chuba. Chuba is not, they're not going to put him in running situations like they did last week. I think the reason he was successful running the ball was because of how awkwardly he was running the ball. It was hilarious.
As clunky as it was, he still didn't look like he had a really bad hurt groin. I mean,
Yeah,
That-
you
and
never
that's
would have
what I
known.
mean. Yeah.
That little zigzag run that he had, like second or third play for like 12 yards, first down, everybody's going nuts. Like, oh my God, yeah, he's going, he's going to do it. It's
It was like a Scooby-Doo
that
chase
that
scene.
was-
His legs were going, and he wasn't moving anywhere.
it was the most awkwardly forced, successful run I've ever seen. It was so funny.
Matt, what do you got?
I'll take the over 2, just because I think we've finally beat it into Satterfield's head that we need to run the ball all the time. So
Hopefully.
I think he's going to get 20 plus carries.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm going to do the same thing. We're all going to be wrong now, probably. But I'm going to say they give him the ball. He's good. He can do it.
if they give him the ball, he hits the over.
I'm going with the over because I think if Purdy starts, they need a running game, and Purdy's not it.
Yes.
So those carries go to
the
Emmett,
Harburg
I
and
think,
Sims carries.
Yeah.
I just hope and pray he's spending like the entire week on the phone with his brother and talking about, hey, what did you do to keep yourself focused to get that first win? When that first start that you got thrown in. Because he was also a third string quarterback.
Yes, he was.
Mr. Irrelevant, third string quarterback coming in. Let's do the same thing at the collegiate level for his brother. Come on. Come on, buddy. You can take us.
I wanted to put this question at 99 and have to see if he'd get to 100, but I couldn't really justify jumping that up considering his career long is 84 yards. So,
That's fair.
And he just hit that last week.
question 2. What will be more, Nebraska passing yards or Wisconsin rushing yards? Wisconsin in the last 5 games has averaged 104 rushing yards per game, which is super fucking weird to say for a Wisconsin team. And Nebraska is averaging 115 passing yards in the last 5 games.
Did you happen to look up what the Wisconsin average rushing yards per game is on Nebraska since we joined the Big Ten?
About 1,500. That's why this question is.
I was gonna peg
this
like
question in
250.
general is really weird to ask too, because I mean we had Jonathan Taylor 3 consecutive years over 200.
And he got better every year.
Braylon Allen's first year against us was well over 200. Like just
Obviously
and
the
that's
Melvin
just
Gordon
individual
game.
players.
Melvin
yeah.
Gordon.
Yeah.
He's still running.
Lamani Ball back in the day.
Yeah.
Fuck. That game where Ball and Melvin Gordon both went off for like 210 plus.
Big Ten
or something like
championship
that.
game?
Yeah. Oh, God.
One of them averaged like
But
20
to
yards
think
a carry.
to think that I'm asking a question about Wisconsin rushing
Was
yards,
that game
what will be
94 to
more
nothing?
Nebraska
Felt like it.
passing yards or Wisconsin rushing yards is just a very weird question for me to ask. But Wisconsin doesn't run the ball very well.
Yeah. I'm
So-
going to go with the Wisconsin one because this is going to be an anti-Nebraska play and not like a pro-Wisconsin play.
I get it.
Bet go. I don't have an answer yet.
I'm going pro Nebraska defense on this one and taking the Nebraska passing yards. I think our defense sees how vulnerable Wisconsin is on offense, and they're just going to fuck some people up this week.
This is a Luke Reimer type of, I'm going to extract some revenge because I've been here long enough to remember some of those games type of game, I think. I think the defense is going to be about the most fired up that we've seen the defense probably since coming out in Illinois. They, after that Sunday practice, after the Michigan beatdown, that defense was fired up as fuck. I think that they have even more to be fired up about this just because of the couple older guys that have been around long enough to get their embarrassment out. I'm picking the same way Matt did, strictly because of the Nebraska defense. I think we probably hold them. I'm also assuming that he's not healthy.
Who?
Braylon Allen.
Okay.
And that they don't have a Braylon Allen type second running back to throw out there. I think we probably hold them under 75. Now, we might only throw the
I was
ball
gonna say.
80.
That's the weird thing about
it's
how
really-
tough this
we
question
need one
is.
guy.
Well, here's
we
the
need
thing.
one guy to get open to lob a ball and have
the
it
one
connect.
pass play
Yeah.
that we get.
So here's
And it'll be fine.
my big thing about this is the first week Chubba Purdy's getting any snaps all season with the ones.
in practice.
He hasn't, like, there might have been some of the freshmen, some of the freshmen out there might have gotten some early season snaps with him, but since our wide receiver room went to absolute dog shit, those guys have been running with the ones. There was no connection when he came in that game. He was literally only using his eyes to find an open receiver.
Well, what did Satterfield say? Like only 2 of those plays he had actually practiced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like,
And so
they ran
on
that
that
entire
whole drive. Yeah. And so they said, and that's probably also part of why it looks so clunky a couple times running the ball. I mean, I don't think he's a very talented runner. He doesn't have the feet for it. He's a pocket
Or the
passer.
groin, apparently.
Jesus. Just doesn't have a dick. It's weird.
Doesn't have the groin for it, man.
But I'm excited to see what he could look like if you're right and he does start. I'm excited to see what he could look like a whole week of practice with the ones, running the plays that we're going to run, being scripted at least 2 drives. It'll be nice to see. I think that we're going to be, he found the 1 of 3 passes that he completed. He completed for 23, 24 yards, something like that. So I think it's going to be a decent enough game if he starts. I think Nebraska goes over the 100. I think we keep him under 75 running.
I am not comfortable saying Nebraska passing, but like with what you said, it's more pro Nebraska's defense, how I think that they're going to hold them down, that I am reluctantly saying I have confidence in Nebraska's passing.
This is the most vulnerable.
Josh is the only one. Wow. I like having a 4th person here because the 3 of us can agree and it's fine. We always hate agreeing when it's the 3 of us.
Except that the
I still
last
hate
question,
agreeing
all
with
4
all
of
of
us
you
picked
guys.
the over. But
As soon as he starts agreeing with the 2 of us, then he's like, well, I don't know. I think I should change this.
Yeah, these numbers are off.
I really thought you guys were going to go the other way with this one.
Matt, I like how he says when I agree with both of you, it's
Really
know
just, yeah.
it's just
I hate agreeing with him, too. And yet somehow we're all tied at this point
I
in the
know.
season.
That's the weird thing.
That's the
Fucking.
There's been a couple of games where it's like the Michigan game. I went like 7-2, and they went like 3-5 or some shit like that. And the whole game has been, or the whole season's been off lopsided. And for us to be 2 games out from the end of the season and
you're
all be
tied.
tied,
It's
that's
pretty
crazy.
much whoever is the most pessimistic on the offense. That's who does the best that week.
Yeah, who's in a
it
bad
is.
mood tonight? That's what that's all about.
And that's why I had such a good week this last week against Maryland. Because we even said it in the show. It's like, if Nebraska plays well, he's going to get, and granted, you had 5 correct, so it's still good, but that I'm going to be really bad this week. If Nebraska plays the way that they do, I'm going to have a good week. And, yeah.
You were back to bah humbug, Jed, last week.
You mean reality?
Yeah.
He was
That's
just
what you like to call it when you're
he was,
in
back, he was
the
back to
negative
is.
zone.
Jed, yeah.
Question 3. This is the story of the entire season, especially in the last couple weeks. Nebraska turnovers. 3.5. Sounds such a high number,
It's
but
so ridiculous.
I mean, Nebraska has gone over 3.5 4 times this year, averaging 3.4 in the last 5 games. And we already talked about how Wisconsin only has 3 takeaways in the last 5 games, and they were all in one game. The funny thing is, and one of your fellow hosts on 1620, Connor Happer, he did the numbers on turnovers per drive, and it was like a quarter of the drives we've had a turnover.
23% of their drives this
Yeah.
year have ended in turnovers.
So I'm kind of thinking like we average 12 drives per game.
So that's a quarter.
That's
3 of them.
3.
Yeah. So you go over and under.
So I
Can
put
we,
it at 3.5.
can we just pause for a second and think about that? For damn near a
don't want
quarter
to.
of our
Stop it.
drives.
Mhm.
No, for damn near a quarter of our drives, we've turned the ball over.
Yep.
And our defense is so fucking good. We're 5-5 and still have an outside shot at fucking winning our division.
Yeah. They've turned it over 8 times in the last 2 games, and they've lost the 2 games by 6 points combined.
I know
we have 3 losses by 3 points, and
Yeah.
we've had 12 turnovers in those 3 games.
12 turnovers.
9 total points.
You say there's 12 turnovers in 3
12
games.
turnovers.
Just say that
Yeah,
by
I
itself.
know.
It's insane. It sounds insane.
Yeah. In the last few years, they lose these games by 30.
Yeah.
They're losing by 3.
Yeah, when we've been, we're so close. We're so close. Scott Frost, we're so close. And we weren't turning the ball over that bad.
No.
We were just kicking ourselves in the dick every way we could. You used the stats that he posted a couple weeks ago about
The opponent's drive
starting on our
50.
side.
Yeah.
Have you kept that up to date?
I did not update it from the Maryland game. Not yet,
I know
no.
it wasn't great last week, but I didn't know what the Maryland game
I mean,
showed.
the Purdue game, I think, was
It was 50,
like
50%.
yeah. So it's I haven't updated it after the Maryland game yet.
Gotcha. Sorry.
No, you're good. But one of the other things, as far as all these turnovers, we're only averaging 18 points allowed per game. Like
Crazy.
It's not just the fact that we have these close losses. I hate to use the word close, but yeah. Like
It's not so taboo anymore. He's
26, 27 turnovers, and you're only allowing 18 points a game?
Yeah.
And you have a 40 burger against Michigan mixed in there?
That's how fucking
I
good this defense
I know
is.
I threw away that comment earlier, but there is some legitimacy to people saying this is a national championship style defense. We just have zero offense to go with it.
No help.
If we would have had
A quarterback?
Illinois'
Yeah.
offense this year, Illinois' offense,
Well, at least Illinois' offense now.
we
but
probably win 8 or 9 games.
Probably just Illinois' quarterback.
if we have 5 less turnovers, we win 8 or 9 games. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying.
Which, by the way, that means we still have over 20 turnovers.
24 to be exact. Jesus.
So anyway, Nebraska turnovers 3.5.
I'm going to say they have 2. I'm going to be
Okay.
optimistic this week.
I'm going to say they have 3, and I'm still taking the under.
I'm also going to go under.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Jed's going over. He's like 7. It's going to happen.
Nope, I'm
Better
actually
not.
going with the under.
What's the record
Wow.
for the most turnovers by a team in a single season?
I don't know that.
I'll look that up while
I was
you're,
gonna
while
say
you're throwing
I can
it
look
out
it up
there.
tomorrow. I don't work tomorrow, so. Question 4: Who will have more tackles for loss, Wisconsin or Nebraska? Nebraska has 4 more tackles for loss than Wisconsin on the season. Wisconsin is averaging 7 per game in the last 3 games. Nebraska is also averaging just over 7 in the last 3 games, so it's basically the same in the last 3 games. Wisconsin is allowing 4.6 per game in the last 3 games, and Nebraska is allowing 8.6 in the last 3 games. So, I mean, I know we were propping up the offensive line earlier in the show, but that Michigan State game just plummets that number down drastically. So, who will have more tackles for loss, Wisconsin or Nebraska?
I'm going to go with Nebraska or Wisconsin. Excuse me. They just haven't allowed that many this year, and that tells me that their offense probably doesn't play that way. If they're not throwing a ton of swing passes that are slowly developing and getting outside there, we're not going to get that many. Not on an offensive line in Wisconsin where they've all 5 played all season long, and they're not. And they're, would you say they're 4th in the country for pressures?
No, they had 4th in the conference of fewest tackles for loss allowed.
Oh, I thought you said 4th in the country.
No.
Oh, my bad.
Conference.
Nope. Still, I'm going with Wisconsin's going to have more.
Finally, something that way I can disagree with BJ on. Jesus Christ. I think Nebraska wins this by 3 or 4.
Okay.
I think our defense,
3 or 4? What the fuck are you looking at?
Jed.
I'm sorry.
That would make me confused too. Fair enough.
Wisconsin is vulnerable, and our
Hats on
defense is
too
going to
tight.
be excited. So we're going to get back there quite a bit.
I'll go with Wisconsin. I'll go with BJ on this one.
I'm sorry. There's a part of me that wants to go with Wisconsin because I think if Chubba Purdy is starting, he's going to be a little bit more of a statue back there. Not just because of how he plays, but also with his groin injury. But I'm going to go with Nebraska because I think they're going to be fired up for this game. Question 5.
Do you think they'll get rid of the ball a lot really quickly with him?
Who, with Mordecai?
If Chubba is starting, do you think the goal is get the ball out fast? Lots of quick handoffs. I mean, we're not going to be seeing them running the option.
No.
Oh, no.
Are we
not.
going to be seeing a lot of quick handoffs and a lot of swing passes, a lot of quick type mesh routes?
You'd hope so, right?
Yeah.
Make things easy as hell on him.
Yeah, 3-step drop. Let's unleash that thing. Let's keep it under 2 seconds for an exit.
I would hope so, but then that puts a lot of pressure on our wide receivers to catch the passes.
Yeah, I mean,
Get open and catch the passes.
Yeah, I feel like if you put Malachi Coleman, I know you guys know that I love him. You put Malachi
We need
Coleman
a
5
button for
yards in
that.
front, 5 yards behind the line, in the middle of the field against almost anyone, he should be able to make that play. The only thing that I noticed about Malachi the last couple of weeks, he does not come out of here to catch balls. He does not reach for a ball. He had a ball thrown just slightly behind him in the Maryland game. It was behind him, but it was catchable. His hands froze here. He doesn't catch the ball. If you look at any of his good catches, he doesn't really catch the ball out here, other than that one in the end zone where he did lay out for it, but he was by himself.
Yeah.
He keeps everything tight right here. If I'm going to miss this ball and it's going to bounce off, it's not going to get tipped up in the air and caught because of me.
You're not wrong when you say if we put Malachi Coleman in any routes that are 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, he should be able to make a play.
He's 6'4",
but we don't put
6'5".
him in those situations.
No, and
that's the problem.
I feel like we should be.
You're
run
right.
Him in some more of those almost tight end sets. Bring him in on some of those jumbo packages that we're actually going to throw the ball. Get some of those out there.
And we also don't have a quarterback to just put it on him.
I also still think that Satterfield learned his lesson.
Maybe.
And we're not throwing the ball that much this week.
I sure as fuck hope so. I want to go back to those 11 passes that we had in a handful of games ago. Question 5, we're going back to the penalty conversation that we had. Penalties by Nebraska, 4.5. Nebraska in the first 6 games averaged 6.3 penalties per game. And the last 4 games we've had 2.5.
Do you know
per
anything
game.
about Wisconsin's penalties this year?
No.
Because that's the thing about Wisconsin in the past. They've always been a very low penalty team.
Well, it's penalties by Nebraska.
I know. I'm saying, is this going to be a super low penalties game? Because I feel like
okay. I'm
the
sorry.
refs feel almost like they have to call one about every 4 or 5 minutes. And so it's one of those,
or not like the Michigan State game.
Well, that was let's just get this over with.
Yeah, we don't want to watch this game anymore.
Literally no one wants to be here. Let's go. I'm going to go under for sure. The last 2 games we've played clean as fuck.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we should change that.
Yeah, I take the under too. I mean, the only way I see that creeping up is if we have some weird false starts, or if we have.
Just going to say the same thing. If it is Chubba Purdy, cadence might be a little bit different.
Yeah. And
They
so
might not be quite used to hearing him. Give him credence if there's a false start or 2 in there. But even at that, looking at the last 2 games, that still keeps us under 4.5.
Yeah, I'll be a little pessimistic on this one. The penalties go over, even though the turnovers drop a little bit. So I'll go with like 5. Like they're not going to have like 10. I hope.
No.
But I think that's a good call. That maybe some procedure stuff where they're just not lined up correctly.
I'm going to go with the over also for those 2 reasons, but also we've had a couple of penalties called against us, but they've been either offsetting or declined or whatever else. So it's not like we haven't committed any penalties, but they just haven't
penalties
stuck.
on the books, bro.
I get it. But that's not always going to happen. So I'm going to go with the over for that reason. Question 6. How many teams will score on their first drive? 1, 2, or neither? You don't have to tell me which ones will do it. But Wisconsin has scored 13 points on their first drives all season. So they've
Nebraska
scored 3 times.
6.
Wisconsin has allowed 2 scores on first drives. Nebraska has scored 10 points on their first drives all season. And Nebraska has allowed 10 points on the opponent's first drives.
Neither.
Yeah.
Next question. Jesus Christ.
This is an easy one.
I'm gonna fight against you both on that. This is going to be the cleanest offensive game that we play.
You said that
all
last
season.
week too. In the Maryland game.
Hey, let him. We're tied. Let him.
He was like, we're gonna have like 3 drives of 10 plus plays and all. He had like 30 something points for us last week.
Yeah.
Here's the
Just
thing.
Let him.
Here's the thing. What we do know almost for certain is Heinrich Harburg will not be our quarterback this week.
Yes.
That is giving us a leg up.
Is he done for the year?
I still think no. You think so?
He says yes.
Oh, wow. Do you want to divulge or no? Can you divulge?
No, I just don't think he's gonna. I think,
Okay.
Well, you don't
I thought
really,
you knew something. Like you knew some undertone stuff.
Yeah,
you don't really risk it to bring him back for the Iowa
they
game.
said he got out there and did mental reps today, but
he's just too banged up. He's too
Well,
hurt.
I think
Yeah.
one of the other things, like he had an ankle injury. We saw Sims miss 5 games.
Missed a long time.
well,
We've got 2
hard to
games
say.
left. So more than likely,
he missed a lot of that time because
well, maybe
they
but,
didn't want him back on
but
the
at least
field.
the first 3 to 4 weeks were because of the injury.
going into the bye, that was actually hurt. And
Yeah.
then since
So,
then, not so much.
we
That's-
have
that's 3
2
games.
weeks for Harburg. Yeah, he's more than likely not going to play these next 2 games.
The plan is that it's going to be Chuba the next 2 games.
Do you know, was Harburg hurt at all before this last game.
So I hadn't even heard that. I had no idea that he was supposedly
I
banged
really
up.
dude. He started playing tentatively.
Yes.
We had questioned that a couple of times.
4 games ago.
Yeah.
I brought it up, and
And it peaked with the Michigan State game. Like he looked
absolutely.
horrible
Yeah.
in that game.
But even in the Northwestern game, he was running like a lot of his I'm pulling it down and I'm going, oh shit, which hole do I go through? Like stuff like that started showing up in the Northwestern game.
Yep.
And I said it on the show. I said, he's reminding me of sophomore year Adrian Martinez. Like I'm just in my head too much. I don't know what's going on. I'm afraid to make a mistake. I don't want to do this. And all of a sudden, his running free and his pulling the ball down and making a split decision.
Yeah. What made him not good, but what made him serviceable early on?
It made him attractive.
Yeah.
It made him an attractive option.
What certainly made the big plays happen.
Mhm.
Yes.
Disappeared completely.
Yeah, and it was the same type of progression that we saw from freshman season to sophomore season for Adrian Martinez, but it happened in 3 games instead of 10. And I started asking questions about it then, and then you slowly saw it start to come out over the next couple of weeks. It's like, why is he running tentative? Where's his decision making gone? And then Satterfield comes out last week. Oh, we got to get him out of his head. We got to take it all back down and get him all out of his head. It's like,
So we were trying to figure out, is it that he's banged up? Is it that he's injured? Or is it that he's just in his head?
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. And now he's actually hurt.
Yeah.
now he's actually hurt and you don't know.
Yeah. Not great.
So what do you got? Oh, you said neither. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm hard neither. I don't think we might not see any scoring in the first half.
I'm going to say 1. I don't know which one, but it's going to be 1.
I was going to say, I'm not asking for 1, but do you want to
BJ,
say it?
Well, I
or-
feel like in the last 4 games, I can remember at least 2, if not 3, that we've given up opening drive scores.
Well, we've only given up 2 scores on opening drives. So,
Well, I know we gave up 1 against Michigan State
Oh,
And
and
Michigan.
Michigan.
and Michigan.
Yeah, those were
That's
the
it.
two.
Okay, those are the only 2.
Michigan owns this stat.
Yeah.
Fuck the state of Michigan.
Well, I agree with that. I
Um,
would have worn my fuck Michigan shirt, but it was dirty just for him.
I'm gonna.
He's a dumb Michigan guy, so.
You're a Michigan fan?
I like Harbaugh.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I'm going to answer this question, then we're getting into this for a second. Hold on.
I shouldn't have even brought it up.
Oh my
bad.
God.
I
How
got
did
to
you
work
bring
tonight.
it
I got to
up?
go
You
home
shouldn't
at some
have.
point. My wife's waiting for
No,
me.
I'm just kidding. No, long story short, I think that if Purdy does start, we score on the first opening drive. I'm going with 1.
All right. I said neither.
Neither? Okay.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, I'm going with neither also because
I'm with you. I think this could be low, like
yeah.
zeros for a while. Now watch someone throw a turnover.
like the Maryland game.
Like the Maryland game.
Yeah. My last question is
Wait, timeout. Are you going to count this if somebody throws a pick 6 on the first drive?
Yeah, what would a pick
No,
6
they're
be?
offensive drive.
Okay.
Sorry, offensive drive.
Fuck you. Just say score.
No. First offensive drive. Wisconsin third down conversions. I got it at 40%. Wisconsin is averaging 48.4% in the last 4 games.
Damn.
Which, considering how bad they've been,
Playing poorly, that's pretty
crazy.
impressive.
It's super weird that they're that good on third down. Like 3 of those games, they're averaging 11 points a game, and they're still like 50%.
We're back to the
on,
smash mouth
I guess.
offensive playbook.
Or short
Nebraska,
passes.
ever since Nebraska gave up 60% against Michigan, they are only allowing 31.9% on third down. And that's with Maryland having 50% last week. So
Oof. I didn't realize it
What's
was
the
that
number?
bad.
What do you
Yeah.
set it at?
40%. I basically cut the difference.
Yeah.
Wisconsin in the last 4 games is at 48.5. We are at, in the last handful of games, 31.9. So I just kind of cut the difference at 40.
Under. Under for all of it. They haven't played defenses like ours since
I
they
thought
played.
the number seemed a little high. I'm not going to change it, but I'm just saying.
Not true.
like-
Ohio State's defense
I
is
said
very
since
similar
since
to
they
ours.
played Ohio State,
Yeah.
they just haven't seen that kind of aggressiveness. So as long as our defense doesn't come out like they did against Michigan State, we should be fine.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is they still only scored 25 points against Illinois.
Yeah. And again, a lot of those points were late. That was a game they were
Like,
trailing
that's-
throughout.
yeah.
They were down 2
That's-
scores.
Yeah.
pretty late
Their
in that game.
last 5 games are just really bad.
It's not good, man.
Really bad.
And again, they're still 50% on the last 4 games.
It's the most
on third down conversions. It
crazy.
doesn't make any sense.
So they're
that's a
they're
wild
just not
stat.
finishing drives at all.
No,
Well, I
Not
feel like
finishing drives at all.
Are they turning the ball over a bunch?
not really.
Yeah, you
Because
guys
like, are they maybe not getting the third down that frequently? Like, I feel like Nebraska doesn't have that bad of a third down conversion rate.
If they have the ability to throw the ball 50 times a game, they're staying in drives for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you throw the ball 48 times, you score 3 points. You're just not getting. You're not getting there.
They have 15.
Yeah.
They have 15 turnovers on the season. They've gained 13 of them. They've got 11 fumbles and 4 interceptions.
So they must be
that
just
they've
missing
thrown.
it, But you said their field goal kicker's solid too.
He's 13 of 16.
Yeah, so
it's
they're
not,
wow, wild. Weird.
Yeah, when I saw that, when I figured out that stat, like I said, basically 50% last shitty 4 games.
Yeah, it sounds
It's
like they're
like,
just
this
doing
doesn't
a
make any
ton of
sense.
short shit.
Yeah.
We're not going to let them get in that. Like, we don't let teams stay on schedule. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but we're kind of a bend, don't break defense, and we don't like it's either chunk plays or no plays.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of in between.
Yeah, it's really Maryland dinking and dunking on that last drive, and they got obviously the help with the penalty too. But other than that, it just doesn't happen.
That one random run play where they're completely spread out. They pulled a guy back inside, late action, pulled a wide receiver that was in the slot back inside, and that was that run on the last drive for 29 yards or whatever it was to take him basically from midfield into the 25-yard
essentially
line
ending the game.
ish. That was the knife to the heart. But it was a perfectly designed play in a position where we're complete pass pro, like taking everything away on the backside, not thinking run whatsoever. It was a great play call.
Yeah.
You can't torch him for that. I feel like Rhule has found ways to try and torch the defense. Like he's tried hard to torch the defense, to try and give the offense a little less heat in press conferences the last couple of weeks. When the defense, like we said it even after last week, we said, look, they didn't play great at Michigan State, but if you look at the stats, there's still like that was still stats for a great defense.
Yeah.
You kept them under 300 yards.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You lost the game, sure, but it wasn't like you got blown up. Like
Yeah.
they didn't play poor defense. You just didn't play any offense.
No, and you had horrible field position because your punting was garbage.
Yep.
And your special teams were garbage.
The punting has been frustrating this year.
Yeah.
Up in the roller coaster for sure.
Punting
Anyway,
and punt
back to-
returns. No, I'm done. I'm done on questions.
That's it?
Yeah.
So as far as the weather goes, he already mentioned it. As far as wind and precipitation, there's not going to be much. By game time, it should be in the mid to low 30s. We're looking at basically no wind, 5 to 8 miles per hour, 15-mile-an-hour wind gusts. A normal, decent football night. They have Wisconsin currently at a -4.5. I saw it opened at -3.5, went down to, I think, Nebraska at an even 2 at one point as the underdog, and now it's back up to 4.5. Money's coming in hot. When the sharp money comes in, it will be on Nebraska. I almost guarantee it. I will take Nebraska in this game. I think we come out super hungry, super hot. It's either going to wind up with us winning by 3 to 6 points, or we are going to lose by like 20.
Wow.
I don't think
Well, I think if we're-
Wisconsin has the ability to score that many
I think
points.
we're going to come out super hot from the standpoint of we're either going to burn hot the whole game or we're going to get burned a couple times early and fall the fuck apart.
I don't see that happening at all. I don't see fall the fuck apart in this team's MO this year. I think Rhule has finally kind of gotten rid of that for our team.
You haven't watched any of our offense?
I don't know if they've fallen apart. It's
Also,
just they don't
I'm not,
have, they
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
the
fall the
guys.
fuck apart as just the offense. We fell the fuck apart with 5 turnovers last week. We lost by 3 points in the last second
You're
field
right.
goal.
You're right.
So that fall the fuck apart is not a thing here. Also,
Unless you're playing Michigan, but yeah.
that's everybody this year against Michigan.
I know.
I
It
think
might be
that
Georgia.
29 points would be a great over-under for this game. I don't see a lot of scoring going on. I do
It's
think
36.5.
Yeah, that's under all day. I would take under on maybe half of that. That's how bad this game's going to be. It might come down to who scores the only touchdown in the game, honestly.
Jesus.
I don't think you're wrong.
So who's going to have a defensive score here?
Honestly, or like a blocked punt, a blocked
score prediction?
field goal, something. I think Nebraska pulls this one off. I think Wisconsin is the most vulnerable we've seen them in a long fucking time. and we're going for the jugular. So it's going to be Nebraska 17, Wisconsin 7.
So he thinks at least multiple touchdowns.
One of my, I'm unfortunately from my own soul going to kind of regurgitate something that Steve Sipple said on your show today.
Oh my God!
I know. Trust me.
The new Jed.
I heard he was on. I didn't get to hear the interview. Give it to me, Jed.
I think that, well, going into all day today when I was trying to figure out what I was
Can you hear how
pick,
he's struggling with this?
Yes. Because honestly,
He's hemming and hawing.
no, but I told Matt
He's setting it up like Sybil.
before we. No, I'm not saying be careful here. And I'm not grunting and
No,
groaning
be careful,
constantly
Sean.
and all this other stuff. But I said this to Matt before we started recording. I was like, I feel this way, the same way I did last week when I did my prediction. I was like, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know what team is going to show up, whether that's Maryland or Nebraska, on both sides of the ball. I kind of feel that way today with this Wisconsin-Nebraska game as well. But I also kind of think with the powder keg that is starting to brew up in Madison with most of the off-field stuff,
That's what he was talking about.
I almost want to go to the Michigan State thing, and I know Sipple talked about, the handful of games. I disagree with him on most of those, as far as Maryland possibly quitting and all that stuff. I think it was more about Michigan State quitting.
Yeah.
And we said it on our prediction from the Michigan State game, it's like, don't let them feel like they have a shot. If we can just punch them in the mouth and say,
That's what
you
Damon
guys have
said
to quit,
pre-game.
then
Don't give him any false hope.
Michigan State's going to quit. But we gave them false hope. Michigan State had false hope in the Minnesota game the week before that when they had 2 early fumble recoveries and all that stuff. If we can punch Wisconsin in the mouth at least a little bit at the beginning and not give them hope, that crowd is going to bail on them really fucking quickly because they already want to. And then
And it's going to be 35 degrees out.
and the players that already want to, have questions or whatever else, they're going to start to circulate their stuff in their own mind too. And I don't know that we can actually do that, but I'm going to say, in as tough as an environment as Camp Randall is, especially at night, typically, I know you talked about the hunting season. Maybe it's not going to be that bad.
Well, the student section isn't going to be affected.
But stereotypically, it's a tough environment to play in, especially at night. I do think Nebraska's going to pull this one out because I don't know that Wisconsin, again, they are averaging 11 points a game in the last 4 games, and Nebraska has a very fucking good defense. So I think Nebraska's going to pull this out. I think it's going to be super fucking close. Yes, on the under on the total.
I think it's going to be ugly as fuck.
It's going to be another ugly fucking game.
Yes, it is. Poor NBC.
But I think we're going to
talk about the ugly win and not the close loss.
Yeah.
So the last 2 weeks I picked Nebraska to win. Obviously that didn't go very well. And the 2 weeks ago, I thought that they were going to roll. Going back to what you said, I thought that they were going to essentially make Michigan State quit on the whole season. I picked them to win by 3 scores.
Can you just go ahead and pick Wisconsin?
I'm going to pick Wisconsin. So I think I'm going to go with 12-7. Just super ugly, super low scoring.
Jesus.
And I just
we score the touchdown, but they win the game.
But they win the game. Yeah, just something. I'm worried that something bad's going to happen late in the game where it's going to be, like a give them the ball situation where, they're down 7-6 or something. They score a touchdown, they go for 2 and they miss it. But yeah, I would love to be wrong. I just need to see it happen now. I picked them for the last 2 weeks and stereotypically, this is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
It's really hard to go in there and win. So I'm praying to God that I am wrong because if they lose their 3rd straight and suddenly they're 5-6 with Iowa remaining and looking at another season without a bowl. After starting 5-3 and being in the Big Ten West race, that would suck.
And you have all that pressure going into the Iowa game.
Exactly. So, hopefully I'm wrong. I think the defense is going to ball out like it always does. It's just going to be, can the offense not make mistakes? That's what it comes down to for me. Can the offense stay steady?
Or at least minimize them as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's why, I said 2 turnovers, that would be actually okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But Wisconsin doesn't turn the
It's
ball
weird
over.
that 2 turnovers would be a good thing.
I know. We're like, wow, they're improving.
What an improvement!
Yeah. Yeah, Wisconsin 12, Nebraska 7.
My biggest thing, I think, is how good is Rhule on the road? We saw us open the season 0-2 on the road. Wasn't good. Saw us now go up to Michigan State. Wasn't good.
Yeah.
Was not a good showing. Is this going to become a storyline?
Yeah, so you have the Illinois
for
win,
Rhule?
but
Yeah.
can you
And
get
the
it?
Illinois win on the back of that, like we've talked about, a staple practice on Sunday night that might end up being program defining for this season.
Yeah.
if we can make a bowl game, if we can make some noise here at the end of the season, that's going to be probably the turning point of the season.
Yeah, it's a legendary thing.
But if we lose these next 2 games, it doesn't mean fucking dick.
No. Yeah, it's lost. It's lost to the season.
It means nothing.
It's a footnote.
There's I think the recruitment and the program building opportunities for this Saturday and next Friday are massive. I think there's a couple Iowa recruits right now that you beat Iowa on Black Friday, that's huge. You beat Wisconsin on Saturday, that's huge. That speaks to building. Why? Because this is the first game since we joined the Big Ten. Nebraska's coming into a game against Wisconsin as the best defense on the field. The first time. There could be some argument made for it back in 2011 and 10?
11.
First season. 11. There could be some argument about that year. Didn't show on the field. This is the first time that we can definitively say we have the better defense of the two. Let's go out there and show them what it is. I think it's exactly what you guys have all said. It's going to be a tight, close game. I think Purdy potentially starting, if he does start, that's going to be a positive factor for us just from a game planning perspective. Because he'll have had a whole week with the ones. He'll have had the opportunity to get used to the timing of the receivers that are out there, not the guys that he's used to throwing to, which who knows who the fuck those are. And Wisconsin doesn't have any tape on him. He doesn't have any tape on him.
Yeah.
Their tape they have on him is him looking like a fucking lost duck in a fucking clothing store. Like he's just going in and out of shit.
That's
doesn't
weird
even
tape.
know. Yeah, it's weird tape, right? They're not getting
I have
shit
so
out of
many
that.
follow-up questions for that tape.
They're not getting shit out of that. So I think that's an advantage to Nebraska. I'm picking Nebraska to win this game. I pick Nebraska, especially with the points. I would pick Nebraska -2.5. Wouldn't pick them -3.5. I think this is going to be a close game. I think you hit it on the head when you said like 12-7. I'm thinking more like 9-3, maybe 9-5.
That'd be awesome.
Working 9 to 5. No, I'm just. I really think this is going to be a weird, shitty primetime game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, NBC is going to be like,
NBC is
we will
gonna be
never have
shitting
these
their
guys on
pants.
again.
They're going to be upset as fuck because it's going to be like watching Maction on a Tuesday night. It's going to be rough.
Oh, Maction's fun.
Take the under all fucking day. It's not going to be close
told
like
you
it
that
has
this
been the
whole
last couple
time.
weeks. No, well, you were wrong 2 weeks ago, and
Well.
and last week you were very close to being wrong. I don't think it's going to
Which
be
means you were
even
right.
close to that 36.5 mark.
Yeah.
12-7, 9-5, 15-13, somewhere in that range. I think is a really good answer. Still taking Nebraska regardless. I think we get bowl eligible this week, and then we dick stomp Iowa next week.
We'll go there. when
Yeah,
we
I
go
agreed
there.
with a lot until the last part. That's fine.
You're both pussies.
Okay.
Go Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.